Hey everyone, how you doing? So the other day in the mail, I received this, which is the 2023 Notice of Appraised Value for a property that I have. And it's not a tax bill. It says it right on there. This is not a tax bill. But basically what this is doing is this is giving you a preview of what your property is going to be appraised at for the coming tax year. Okay. And basically that's what your taxes are going to be based off of, right? And so you have the ability as the property owner to dispute that amount, okay? And you should, because you can realize some real good a lot of savings by doing so. And so I'm going to go through a couple steps here that I do every year to protest my property taxes, which I hope will be a benefit of for you. So first of all, the simplest and easiest way to do so is by using the back of this form. Okay, I'm not going to use this form. I'm going to file them online, but I will. I just wanted to reference this to you because you can just complete the form on the back of your notice here, and do it that way. But there's a few steps involved. I like to make sure that I really build a case for lowering my appraised value, and so I'll go through each one of those really quickly here. So I'm going to start just to share my screen here. And on the back of your appraised value notice, there is a website, very simple. It's just bcad.org. If I can type bcad.org. And just before we get started on the actual process for protesting, I want to just point you towards the taxpayer resources. So there's a lot of information on this website that you can, educate yourself on the whole taxation process in Bexar County. A lot of it, there's a lot of overlap with other counties as well, but certainly we'll be focusing on Bexar County in this case. But I also wanted to remind you to make sure that you are taking advantage of any exemptions that you qualify for. So these are additional savings that you can get. And so, the most common one is your homestead exemption. So if you own the house that you live in, then you qualify for a homestead exemption. And so you can apply for that here. And if you haven't already, certainly do so. But there's also exemptions for if you're a veteran. There's also exemptions for if you're 65 and older, disabilities, all sorts of things. So make sure that you take a look at what exemptions there are and take full advantage of those. So first of all, to find those, go to taxpayer resources here, and then you can go to your rights as a taxpayer, click on the frequently asked questions, and then there's an exemptions menu here, and you can find out what an exemption is, do I qualify, how do I apply, and all that. So certainly it's a good time to do that. If you haven't already, just make sure that you're getting all the exemptions that are available to you. Okay, moving on. So what we're doing with the appraised value of your property is we're going to try to lower that. And certainly receiving this in the mail and seeing what your property is worth, it's a bit of a, it might be a bit of an ego boost, because you might think, hey, that's great, my property is worth a lot. Well, it's a double-edged sword, because as your property is worth more, you're going to be taxed more. Okay, so if you plan on staying in your house for a while, you're going to want to make sure that you do your best to keep your taxes as low as possible. Okay, so to start the process, think about everything that's kind of bad about your house. Okay, so the county comes by and they do a quick look at your house just from the street. They don't go in your house, of course, but they're going to see it from the street. Okay, and so you need to make sure that you point out certain features or characteristics of your property that that might be a little bit more hidden, right? So you can talk about maybe your kitchen that is extremely old and needs to be updated, or yes, you have 2 bathrooms, but one of them is totally not functional right now. You might have a hole in the roof. You could think of other things too, such as, you know, the street has extremely poor drainage whenever it rains. You know, it's like a lake in front of your property. You might live on a very busy street, you know, and you could use that. Anything that is kind of a negative feature about your property, you want to have that in mind. The other thing you want to do is start identifying properties that are comparable to yours. Okay, so think about properties that are, or, you know, take a drive around your neighborhood or in the, you know, streets nearby, and find some houses that are approximately the same size, you know, give or take, same number of bedroom and bathrooms, approximately built in the same time period, that you can, you know, compare tax values with. And I do this every year. Okay, so I find properties that are similar to mine. Again, you know, I'm looking for, you know, similar size and all that. And then I go on to the Bexar County property search tab here. And I'm just going to choose some property here. Let's do this one here, just for fun. Okay, it doesn't really matter what property we choose. But basically on here, you can see, oh, sorry about that, what we're going to be assessed at, right? Okay, so this property here is assessed at $245,000. Okay, now this is for 2023, so this is what they are proposing they're going to tax you on. If you go back to 2022, you can see what it was taxed on last year, 207. So the appraised value is going from 207,000 up to 245,000. That's a pretty big jump, right? And so what I do is after I've found my comparable properties, I actually put them together in a little bit of a spreadsheet here, which I'll show you. And so I've just blanked out some of the addresses here. So, you know, just for privacy reasons, of course. But here is the house that I own. This is a little rental property that I have. And these are the properties that I'm going to compare it with. Okay. So as you can see, they're all 3-bedroom, 1 baths. Mine is 1,292 square feet. This one's 1,126, 1,264, 1,126. And so the previous tax amount for my property was 137,000. Okay, so this was last year. And this year, they're planning on going up to 159. So that's a pretty big jump, right? So that's a 16% increase over last year. And that's quite a bit. Now, if you compare that with my neighbors, okay, so these guys are a few streets over, you can see that last year they were at 110,000, and this year they're at 120,000. So they have a 10% increase. Another comp, they started at 122 and they went up to 135, also a 10% increase, right? Now, these folks here, they started at 140 and they went up to 154. So they're also a 10% increase. But this is interesting because the previous year in 2022, for 2021, they would have been 104,000, and then they went up to 140. So they had a massive increase. They did not protest, which is unfortunate because they could have been saving quite a bit had they actually done that, right? So this just shows you what can happen to your taxes, your appraised value, if you don't protest, right? This value can get really out of hand. And you might know a trick, but I don't know the trick for actually having the county, you know, dial back your actual appraised value. That probably won't happen. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to use this information when I plead my case. All right. The next step is I'm going to put together a polite little message because you have the option to submit a little, you know, statement as to why your property is, you know, appraised too high according to their records. And so just very simple, you know, I say, hello, I would like to request that the tax assessed value at such and such property be reassessed. The assessed value of the property has increased by 16% over the previous assessed value from 137,000 to 159,460. Similar properties at this address and that address have increased only 10% with a much lower assessed values to begin with, starting at 122,000 and 135,000. So my property at such and such address is quite dated. Oh, this is important because this is where I'm kind of building a little more of a case. I'm saying what's wrong with my property? Why should it only be assessed much lower, right? So my property at this address is quite dated and requires several updates in order to make it worth 159,000, which I'm not going to do right now. It also backs up to a poorly maintained alley, which is a haven for homeless and criminal activity. For these reasons, I believe the assessed value should be lowered. Please consider a new assessed value of 143,000 for whatever the address is. And thank you for your consideration. So I've identified what they're trying to do. I've built a case by identifying other properties that they should be comparing with. And then I've also put out there what I think the property value should be. Okay. Now, I guess if I want, I could have just said, you know, raise it by $1, raise it by $1,000. I don't know. But, you know, you have to also be a little bit reasonable. You know, the one thing you can be sure of is that your taxes are going to go up, right? And so I try to play ball with them a little bit and say, okay, I understand that taxes are going up. What you're proposing is too high. How about this amount? Okay. And generally, they've accepted the amount that I've gone for. Now, with this property, I've gone a little bit lower than maybe what I should have, the 143. And the reason why is because my taxes seem to be going up faster than my neighbors, right? I remember when I showed you my spreadsheet, I had a 16% increase over the last year, whereas my neighbors had a 10%. So I went less than that 10% because I'm trying to get back aligned with those folks, right? And I may never get there, but it's at least worth a try, right? So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go back to the online portal here, and I'm going to log in. And here, if you haven't done this before, you're going to need to make an account. And to do so, at some point, you're going to need the owner ID and also the e-file PIN number. Okay, so, you know, just click on create an account and follow the steps there, and, you know, they'll send you a password via email, I believe. So I have my password here from last year, so I'll use that. Oh, what just happened? Okay. And log in. And then we're going to go to online appeal. And then click here to e-file. So we'll click here. Click e-file for whatever property you want. And then this is basically the same as the back sheet of your notice, right? And so what you're going to do is you're going to just complete everything here. You have some options: e-file my protest and continue the rest of my process electronically through the website. That's usually what I do, okay? Because I just want everything done online. You know, you can attend a hearing, you can ask for a hearing so that you can really plead your case. Honestly, I don't do that. Really, with my process here, I'll request a reduction. I'll request another valuation, and I'll just accept their counter. Honestly, you know, I know other folks argue back and forth, and they go to hearings and they bring binders of, you know, evidence and all this stuff. I just want to control it as much as I can here, and then move on, because I've got other stuff to do. But anyway, check whatever boxes here are relevant for you. This is where you're going to put your little blurb that you wrote. Okay, so your nice little letter that you did back here, wherever it is, this thing, right? You're going to just copy and paste that and put it into, geez, where's my other window? Too many windows open. You're just going to paste it into this little box. Okay, I kept it short and sweet because you have an 850 character limit. All right. And so once you do that, you can check the box here to receive updates if you want. But click submit, and then you're able to then monitor the progress in your online portal. Okay, so that's really it. This is just meant to be really a reminder to, number one, make sure you're getting all the exemptions that you're entitled to, and number two, make sure you protest your taxes to keep them as low as possible. Okay, so I hope this process was helpful. If you have any questions, please reach out, and I'd be happy to do so. And if you think this will be useful to anyone else, please share it. All right, thank you so much.